to radio station Agidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan. I am Bowale Akimbode. First, the headlines. European Union urges swift action on Nigeria's electoral reforms ahead 2027. Oyo Assembly moves to establish Central Revenue Collection Portal for tax payment transparency. Trump commits United States to defending Qatar's security. Flying Eagles target 3 points against Saudi Arabia. Now the details. The federal government has said recent divestments by international oil companies have added about 200,000 barrels per day to Nigeria's crude production, boosting efforts to stabilize the sector. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Enikin Lopobere, disclosed this in Cape Town, South Africa, while delivering a keynote address on behalf of President Bola Tinubu at the Africa Energy Week. Senator Lopobere, in a statement issued today by his Special Assistant on Media and Communication, Nima Kaukafo, stressed that the President Tinubu administration was committed to building a transparent, stable and investor-friendly petroleum sector to attract long-term capital, and further declared that Nigeria is open for business and actively pursuing policies that prioritize investment, efficiency and long-term growth in the oil sector. The European Union has called on the federal government to accelerate critical electoral reforms ahead of the 2027 general elections, warning that delays, especially in legislative and constitutional amendments, could undermine democratic progress. A member of the European Parliament and chief of the EU Election Observation Follow-up Mission to Nigeria, Barry Andrews, delivered a warning during a meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Abuja today, where he acknowledged improvements made by INEC, but noted that several of the recommendations from the 2023 EOM report remain unimplemented. Andrews, who led the EU Election Observation Mission during the 2023 general elections, said the EU was delighted to return for a follow-up, but flagged persistent issues where he said there are specific areas that require legislative action, and they will be delighted to hear about what progress has been made and what concerns the INEC has about obstacles in the future. The EU official said they are following up, which is traditionally patterned for election observation, and they are glad to see that there has been very significant progress against these recommendations, while emphasizing that many of the recommendations require action by other entities in the executive, legislature and the judiciary. In his remarks, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu confirmed that only 8 of the 23 recommendations made by the EU in 2023 were directly addressed to the Commission, and just one was marked as a priority, while the rest, including 5 top priority reforms, fall outside INEC's direct control. The Oyo State House of Assembly has made a move for the establishment of State Central Revenue Collection Portal for transparency in tax payment. The motion came at a motion moved by a lawmaker representing Oriri State constituency, Honorable Johnson Ogundele, in today's plenary presided over by its Speaker Adibo Ogudoyin today. Agidigbo FM's news correspondent Oluwapemi Bamidele was at the plenary session. Here is the report.
The Oyo State House of Assembly resumed its plenary today after its last adjournment last Thursday. In a motion presented by a member representing Oriri State constituency, Honorable Johnson Ogundele, the House urged the executive arm of government to establish a state central revenue collection portal to enhance transparency in tax payments. While presenting the motion during plenary presided over by the Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyin, Honorable Johnson Ogundele noted that the unified platform aims to provide flexibility and ease of payment for citizens, potentially leading to increased state revenue and improved infrastructure.
That an interagency oversight and implementation committee be established within the next 3 months, comprising representatives from Ministry of Finance, Accountant General Office, Ministry of Justice, Oyo State Internal Revenue Service to oversee the creation of the XCRA civic grade design and rollout and to monitor its effectiveness.
Supporting the motion, member representing Ibadan Southeast Constituency 1, Honorable Abiodun Babalola, and Oyo East Oyo West State Constituency representative, Honorable Cephas Olorunpoto, they both emphasized the need for the state to combat corruption and revenue collection.
With transparency, we can trace the fund from the source to treasury. With efficiency, we can eliminate multiple collections of income, and with accountability, we can charge the MDAs to ensure that they give proper reporting on the report and the auditing.
You know that when you want to change the system, you want things to be done in a better way, in a new way, it will always come with a lot of resistance from different angles. So it's important for us to review the laws and see how we can address legislative gaps so that we can make sure that they are well positioned to work effectively.
The lawmakers advocated for a cashless and accountable system, highlighting the benefits of digitalized payment methods. The House therefore unanimously resolved to urge the executive arm of government to create a centralized digital platform, a digital revenue collection platform. Uluwakpemi Bamidele, Agidigbo FM News.
A social affair analyst, Comrade Omololu Ejidiran, has called for a thorough investigation into the alleged banditry attack in Akinlalu community, Ife North local government area, Osun State, by Amotekun Corps operatives. Speaking today on the People's-Oriented program Shokanwa on Agidigbo FM, Comrade Ejidiran urged the Osun State government and the Nigerian police force to probe the incident, citing the need for transparency and accountability, while responding to the press releases from the Amotekun and Nigeria Police Force.
It's quite unfortunate, the incident that happened in Akinlalu. It's unlawful, it's quite illegal for a state operative to be wearing a mask during the operation. I hereby call that the Amotekun State should provide those officers and subject them to trial, necessary trial.
The analyst also noted that Amotekun operatives should provide names of the casualties, officers involved, and a detailed statement on how the operation is being carried out for clarity purpose, further advising the residents of Akinlalu community to remain vigilant amidst the situation while extending condolences to the family of those who lost their lives. Child abuse has become one of the most pressing social issues in today's world, cutting across cultures, communities, and backgrounds. Children are exposed to different experiences, from violence to neglect and exploitation, which affects the emotional and psychological well-being of a child. In Nigeria, the situation is particularly worrisome, as UNICEF reports that 6 out of every 10 children experience some form of violence before their 18th birthday. Agidigbo FM News correspondent Taiwo Akinola reports.
Child abuse remains a critical issue across states in Nigeria, yet many cases go unreported due to fear of stigma, cultural beliefs about discipline, and lack of knowledge on where to report contributes to this silence. The most common forms of abuse are physical, emotional, and psychological, have devastating consequences like anxiety, depression, and long-term mental health challenges that can persist into adulthood if not addressed. According to UNICEF, 6 out of 10 children in Nigeria experience some forms of violence before their 18th birthday. Speaking with Agidigbo FM News, Mr. Kolawole Salome, a retired journalist, emphasized the need for parents to be gentle and compassionate with their children.
The children deserve gentle treatment. You have to be kind, you have to be... They should be able to look up to you for help or whatever.
Chronic abuse, experts warns, damages a child's self-esteem, hinders personal development, and limits the ability to build healthy relationships. Also, in an interview with Agidigbo FM News, Mr. Dolapo Ayomide stressed that parents must be educated on proper child upbringing to prevent harmful practices.
Just keep it us in education. Keep in education, so some people are not informed. You don't abuse your children because they misbehave at home. You understand now? So when you educate people, I think that will reduce.
Sharing her personal experience, Miriam Oshuolali told Agidigbo FM News that members of the public should not hesitate to support or report cases of abused children whenever they encounter them. To tackle the crisis, UNICEF is working with the Nigerian government to strengthen child protection system, raise awareness on children's rights, and provide services to support victims of abuse. By understanding the dangers of child abuse and collectively working to prevent it, parents, guardians, and wider community can create safer and more nurturing environment where their children has opportunity to thrive. Taiwo Akinola, Agidigbo FM News.
It is time to link up with our United Kingdom studio for the foreign news.
News from Kunamda Studio at Gidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Olushola Damilola. Democratic Republic of Congo Military Court on Tuesday sentenced former President Joseph Kabila to death in absentia for treason, conspiracy, and war crime. The High Military Court ruled that Kabila collaborated with Rwanda and organized an insurrection together with M23 group that seized major cities in the country. However, it was not immediately clear how the sentence could be carried out because the whereabouts of Kabila, who has been on trial in absentia since July, have been unknown. Although the court in Kinshasa has ordered his immediate arrest, Kabila ruled the country from 2001 to 2019 when he took office at the age of 29 after his father was assassinated. President Donald Trump signed an executive order for the U.S. to guarantee the security of Qatar. The United States shall regard any armed attack on territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure on the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the U.S., while appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, or military action, will be taken to restore peace and stability. The order comes as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during a visit to the White House on Monday, apologized to the Qatari Prime Minister for Israel action in Doha last month. And that ends the news from Kulanza Studio at Gidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Olushola Damilola.
Welcome back. We shall also be linking up with our United States of America studio for the foreign news.
News from Kule Amzat Studios at Gidigbo 88.7 FM, United States. I am Tosin Sawyer. U.S. President Donald Trump said he will meet with his budget director, Russell Vought, to determine which Democrat agencies to court as he looks to inflict pain on his political opposition in the second day of a government shutdown. Trump has already frozen federal transit and green energy funding for democratically leaning states and has threatened to fire more federal workers during the shutdown, which began yesterday due to a partisan standoff in Congress. Trump is already on track to push out 300,000 federal workers by the end of the year. White House spokeswoman Carolyn Leavitt said Trump could fire thousands of workers, though she did not provide details. Federal Employees Union have filed a lawsuit to prevent that from happening, but federal courts have allowed layoffs to proceed while similar cases are being litigated. 2 people were killed today when a man drove a car into pedestrians and stabbed a security guard in an attack at a synagogue in England, where worshippers were marking Yom Kippur, the earliest day on the Jewish calendar, according to the British police. Greater Manchester Police said the suspect, who was wearing a vest that appeared to be an explosive device, was shot dead after officers rushed to the scene at the Eaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in the Cromsall district of the city in northern England. British most senior counter-terrorism officer Lawrence Taylor said the attack had been declared a terrorist incident based on what investigators knew and that 2 people had been arrested. He said investigators believed they knew the identity of the attackers but were not able to confirm it yet. That ends the news from Kule Amzat Studios at Gidigbo 88.7 FM, United States. I am Tosin Sawyer. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
Now to the exciting world of sport. The Flying Eagles of Nigeria will be aiming for victory against Saudi Arabia on match day 2 in the ongoing FIFA Under-20 World Cup finals in Chile, after a painful loss to Norway in their first group game on Monday. Despite dominating the game and creating a number of opportunities, the 7-time African champions were unlucky not to have equalized in the second half of the encounter and probably taken the 3 point. On 2 occasions, their appeals for penalty award were turned down by the referee. Victory against Saudi Arabia come 12 a.m. tomorrow will put the 2-time World Cup runners-up in a good position to qualify for the Champions Round of 16, ahead of their clash with Colombia on Sunday. Head coach Aliyu Zubar is upbeat. His words have shaken off the defeat against Norway, as their attention has shifted towards the confrontation with Saudi Arabia to ensure the team gets the desired result, and with the availability of all key players, Coach Zubar may stick to his usual 4-3-3 formation with more focus on attack and ball possession. Before we end the news around the world this evening, here are the headlines again. European Union urges swift action on Nigeria's electoral reforms ahead 2027. Oyo Assembly moves to establish Central Revenue Collection Portal for tax payment transparency. Trump commits United States to defending Qatar's security. Flying Eagles target 3 points against Saudi Arabia. And before we go on the news around the world this evening, here is a quick tip. All growth depends upon activity. There is no development physically or intellectually without effort, and effort means work. With that, we've come to the end of the news around the world on the most listened to radio station, Agidigbo 88.7 FM, Ibadan. I am Bowale Akimbode. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
News is information, and information is power. At Agidigbo 88.7 FM, we bring the news from top to bottom.
The Oyo State government has said the over 1.5 million out-of-school children.
We give you reports from Oyo State.
The Oyo State House of Assembly has called for thorough investigation.
The Southwest in Nigeria and the rest of the world.
Has clarified that the body did not receive any cash support from international development.
Trust us to keep you informed every hour, every day.
Agidigbo 88.7 FM, the people's voice.